Hello and welcome to Ms. Behavior. My name is Colette.
And I'm Kurt.
We're your hosts for College Student Conduct Professionals. We just did our Happy New Year episode last week, but we're super excited. In a few weeks is the National Association for Student Conduct Administrators Conference in Washington, D.C., and Kurt and I will be there.
Yay!
Yay!
Colette, we haven't been to a conference together in an eon.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
Uh,
sheesh.
ACPA in Baltimore, I think in 2010 or 11.
That's right, we
11.
presented on humor, right?
We did. We did.
Oh my gosh, that was fun. That's one of my all-time most fun conferences.
That was a good time. I
Yeah.
think this is the first conference I'm going to be at in a long time that was not related to specifically to my day job. I go to a lot of conferences for trustees, so it'll be a treat for me.
Yeah. Well, we have swag, everybody. If you're coming to the conference, make sure to find us. When not presenting, we'll be plopped down in a cafe somewhere giving out stickers and swag, and we would love to give out free misbehavior stuff.
Should we have a special recognition for the first person to find us?
Oh, yeah. Yes. Maybe we could supply a
Oh, look at
misbehavior
that
coffee
mug.
mug.
What is going on here?
Yeah. Yeah,
Drinking directly
this
from
could
the
be
logo.
yours. I'm all about the brand, dude.
I love it. I love it.
I was telling my husband, like, this is what we call branding in the biz.
Speaking of branding, I do have to say, we were sitting in bed the other night watching TikTok as we are wont to do in the
Not
evening.
we, but
Not us, no. My partner and I. And my partner shows me his phone and says, "What is this?" And it was the Misbehavior podcast on TikTok. And he certainly knows that we have a podcast, but he did not know that we were on the TikTok. And it was amusing to me because our algorithms are not the same. Mine is largely people scaring each other, heated rivalry, and vegan recipes. And I think his is mostly French bulldogs. So I don't know how I ended up in his TikTok feed, but TikTok doing the Lord's work of calling me out at night right before I'm ready to go to bed. So thank you.
do you remember what you were saying in the
I
TikTok?
don't remember. I think I blacked out when he showed it to me.
Something very profound.
I think I was going, yes, yes.
Thank goodness for TikTok. Now I'm making little TikTok videos with tips for how to be a good conduct
I
officer.
love the content. It's fantastic.
It's super fun.
And
Just keeping the content rolling, man.
I will say this also, not that your hair is not always on point, but the one I saw the
Yeah.
other night, I almost sent you a text message. It was far after hours, and I was like, whatever you're doing with the hair this week is
Wow,
on
thank
point.
you.
Love it, love it.
Yeah, my first couple ones that I experimented with were over Thanksgiving break, and I wanted to purposefully look like I had not combed my hair or put on any makeup because I'm like, we're all at home for the break, probably grading papers or just trying to relax. But I did want to up my game.
It is upped.
Yeah. So as we're getting really excited for the conference in DC, it doesn't come without some
Controversy.
yeah, and it's some need for thoughtfulness. Washington, D.C. does not feel the same for everybody. And I have had a colleague confide that they are legally in America with all the rights and privileges that affords, and yet are really, really scared because ICE is taking people who are supposed to be here legally. And so they've made a choice not to go to the national conference for that reason. And I just wanted to give a space to talk about that.
And for context, as we're recording this, this is the same week where Renee Nicole Good was fatally shot in Minnesota. So all that is happening around the same time that we're about to go to DC for this conference. I have not been to DC in over a year, so I'm interested to see what it feels like. I lived in DC when 9/11 happened, and I think about the weeks before 9/11, and I would go to Eastern Market every weekend, and immediately after it happened, obviously the tone of DC shifted, and it felt completely different. There were police on every corner, so the tone can shift on a dime in a city like that is just so hyper focused on what's going on in the world. I don't know, that's not the best way to say that, but yeah, I certainly would understand why people might not feel super comfortable going into the environment.
Mm-hmm. I don't know a single colleague who is saying like, oh, our school has tons of professional development money, so making decisions with our dollars is another. It's hard to go to any conference right now. I don't know. Do you know of folks who kind of protest by dollars, like who choose not to go to conferences or travel with teams to protest?
Yeah, I think we live in such a consumer-driven culture. I think that's the one way that people feel like they can make an impact is by not spending money. I think going back a couple years ago, North Carolina had passed some legislation that was unfavorable for LGBTQ people, and there was a big push to move conferences out of that state. Some of the changes in Florida, there was a conference that I go to, the ATD Dream Conference, that was scheduled to be hosted there, and I know a lot of people were discussing not going. I think the amazing CEO, Karen Stout, made a good case that was where the work was needed the most. But yeah, I think, even in my daily life, I can hold a corporate grudge. There are places I will not spend my money, so I'm all for that in a professional setting too. I think it's important to communicate the choice to the organizers, though, so that they understand that this wasn't just an economic dip or something else at play. That you've made a conscious decision not to spend your money with them because of the choice they made of where to host it.
Yeah, and those have to be heart-wrenching decisions for them. I don't know what does it cost to break a contract, or can contracts be renegotiated? People have already made travel plans at this point. The decision has been made. How do you address it honestly and directly in a way that includes your whole diverse team, that potential conference goers? I do not envy that. It's easy to sit and talk about it. I have never had any interest in those boards because maybe I'm just weak. That's not where my strengths are.
And I feel for anybody who's organizing conferences now, because so much of this shifts on a dime. Like, I know that there are airlines that are on blast for their participation, or they're accommodating ICE agents, hotels that are accommodating ICE agents. So suddenly, we have a situation where people might not want to stay in a particular chain. And if that's the chain that you, as a conference organizer, picked 6 months ago, to your point, how do you walk that back? What are the contractual implications for that? Very complicated right now to be in that space, I'm sure.
I do wonder, though, is there a way to say we are coming to DC and we want to have a voice there? Because, my goodness, the way that our field has been jerked around with Title IX changes and executive orders, I still don't understand Title VI. And, is there an opportunity to bring in decision makers if they truly are getting to make decisions anymore, to actually see what we deal with in a real way and try to make decisions based on reality and not on what they think happens on college campuses.
Yep. We have locally a lot of well-meaning elected officials who I've seen in the past that people want to help, and because they don't have an understanding of how a college works, they may propose legislation that actually has the opposite impact than what they were intending. So I've been really thankful for the past couple of years that locally we have a relationship with these folks that they'll reach out and say, I'm hearing this from community members. I'm thinking about this as a fix. Does that work in a college setting? But
wow,
to your point, if you want to start to look at change at a national level, hosting a conference in DC does make a lot of sense, because there's one of the organizations that I work with does a national legislative conference every February in DC. And part of it is professional development, but the other part is schedule time with your elected officials, federal elected officials, and talk to them about what is going on your campuses and how they can do their work to help make the environments better for students, more accessible, more affordable. So I do think there's an opportunity there, if it's leveraged correctly, not just to think of the conference as we're going here to gather together. That certainly is always going to be part of it. But then you take time to go and talk to your elected officials and say, here are some issues with Title IX that it's like whiplash. Every administration, the changes that you see, and just as you are working your way and feel like you've gotten through and now understand the new Title IX, it's back to something else. And I can't even imagine being a student and trying to keep up with that. Are you a Title IX officer at your school?
No, thank goodness. But it's a really important partnership.
Yeah.
To have with student conduct. The last place I was at, some sexual harassment, sexual misconduct stuff fell under me as the dean of students, and some fell under Title IX. And that was confusing, and gosh, it's so challenging.
The amount of training required these days for Title IX it seems astronomical. I don't participate in any of the Title IX stuff at our school, except the mandatory training that all employees have to do. But the folks who are officers, it just seems like weeks of training that they have to do just to keep up with everything. And it's, the policies that are most likely to change are on our campus are around Title IX, just making sure that they are up to date and the procedures are up to date and everything is explicitly posted in many, many places. Yeah.
And I think it's so overwhelming that people then only focus on compliance with policies and not on students.
Yep.
And the policies are certainly not written with, student welfare in mind. I think they are, but it looks so much like a criminal justice proceeding that it's hard to even talk about educational outcomes or restorative outcomes if you don't have a really well trained and enough personnel to pull it off.
100%. I think just keeping up with the legal components of it would be so taxing. I also worry that people wouldn't take a step back from that and think about what are the interpersonal and educational pieces that are maybe falling through the cracks.
I know on a lot of campuses that when students talk about it, they'll use Title IX as a verb. Like, you got Title IX.
Oh.
Or we have a member of our club that got Title IX. And that can mean anything. That could mean like really violent attack, or it could mean somebody stared at me too long and I felt uncomfortable. And those are really different things. But clubs are making their own policies. Like, anyone who's been Title IX gets kicked out of the club.
Oh, wow.
Like, that's not really your job, students, but I think they feel so disempowered that they're trying to find a way to have agency.
I also wonder about, I've worked on a community college campus for so long. I think some of the Title IX issues that happen at a residential college may be even more complicated than what we are dealing with on a day to day basis in a community college. I think we have a very vibrant community, but when you add residence halls into the mix and people living on campus 24 hours a day, uh, we both came up in residential education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Those 2 a.m. beeper calls were many times either alcohol or a Title IX related issue. So,
Beepers, yeah.
oh, do you still have PTSD about the beepers?
No, but the very first thing I did on my last day of Dean of Students, I turned my phone to silent. It was
How freeing was
a
that?
beautiful day. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think I may have told you our on-call manual said that if you're not sure what to do, call Colette.
Oh,
Like it was actually built into the protocol.
so you're just
And
like
I was on the on-duty schedule too.
Colette on demand.
So it was like being on call 365 days. So that was a good day to just turn it to silent.
I bet. Oh, the dread I would have when it was my week was I just felt like I can't even leave the house. Wouldn't go to a movie, nothing. I think I was so dualistic about it. It was painful.
Yeah. And it feels harder now.
Yeah,
The
I bet.
number of like mental health things that, because I can say you and I did on call back in the day, and it was hard. It was tiring. It was like,
Yep. There were only four of us, so it was a week a
yeah,
month.
yeah,
I think my first gig, there were 18 of us, so it was, at best once a semester where you had it for a week, but once a week a month is a lot.
and that guilt for like, am I supposed to go to the hospital, or am I supposed to go to campus, or should I not go? Oh man, yeah. I wondered if we could spin off the conversation about Washington D.C. is sort of easier for me to talk about anyway because I don't live there,
Yeah.
but many of us still work at college campuses in sanctuary cities, or we can't just choose not to go to DC and have the ICE thing go away. It's a reality right around our campuses. Are you in an area under a different spotlight from the government?
We're in a very rural area. I think there has been ICE activity in our area, but we're not super far from Washington. I'm about 90 minutes away, but in many regards, it's a whole other universe up here. I can see a cornfield from my window. What about you?
I live in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, which is people think is quite rural, but also it is a sanctuary city. And I work for a college in Boston that was named as one of the places that they were sending extra ICE agents. And we've had some pretty high profile protest cases that just make me worry. It's a lot of American students who are trying to be allies to international students. Is this only going to bring more attention to those students? Or faculty and staff who are being arrested? Activism is really important right now.
Hmm. I would love to hear from our listeners about how they're navigating all this right now because it's such a fascinating and important moment in time where I think a lot of personal convictions come into play here as well. Your own personal beliefs about whether or not protesting is right and wrong versus your college or university's specific stance or policies related to protests on campus. Have you had protests on your campus?
We have. We've had arrests. 2 years ago, over 100 students were in encampments that
Okay.
they were told to pack up and leave, and they did not. And there's a video. It was quite violent, and different people have different interpretations of it. And the protests continue. It's hard to know how to help in educating students on making social change
Right.
and what is just like destructive. I mean, those are philosophical questions.
Yeah. It is where the rubber's hitting the road right now. I think, I don't remember if we talked about this before. We had a freedom of expression incident on our campus. An outside group came and wanted to exercise their freedom of expression in some horrible, horrible ways. And I could see the negative impact it was having on our students, and it broke my heart. But also, constitutionally, it was something that we had to allow to happen. And I think we're going to have a guest from our campus come at some point. I'm hoping we can get her on just to talk about, as a conduct officer, how is she processing that situation. I don't know that I feel like we've landed in a good spot with. If that were to happen again, how would we effectively address it? Super complicated, lightning rod issues. Yeah.
So you're at a public college.
And, all the limited public forum and all these, technical legal words come into play. And that's all great. But at the end of the day, you can throw as much legal speak as you want at somebody. It doesn't change how they're going to feel about the situation in the moment and how people feel about the college during and after.
I've been thinking just internally about our own students and cases and outcomes related to international students and visas. And how decisions that might have seemed easy before might have different implications now. Where I know that admission data is being subpoenaed, and universities are saying that they will turn over their admissions data to the government. And will there come a point at some point that disciplinary information also?
It does seem like an easy target.
Something that we might consider minor might have a huge impact on a student at some point. And how do we get ahead of that?
I'm thinking back to my days in conduct, and I don't know that I ever had a case that was so severe that I would have thought about suspension. But it is making me think, like, how do you handle a suspension level situation with an international student, like something where you'd be sending them home?
I know we would work very closely with our International Student Services Office, or whatever your equivalent is. At my last school, we would actually have a representative from that office at the hearing if it was teetering on a suspension decision, because some visa decisions are made immediately. Like, okay, the suspension decision was made. If you're going to appeal, you better do it fast, because you have X number of days before you're no longer legally allowed to be in the country. But there were some countries where we knew, like, we wanted the student to come back. They needed to get some help. That they weren't going to be okay to just stay at the college, but we knew they would never get approval to come back. And those are rough.
Big decisions.
I don't know whether to tell this story or not about the ICE student.
You want to tell it and then just see how it feels?
Sure. When we started the podcast, Kurt, do you remember I made like a list of 100 different topics we might talk about, and one was times that I cried after a hearing or during a hearing. And for me, I wrote that list before all this ICE stuff happened, but I had a student that was arrested by ICE during the Biden administration,
Okay.
and he had done something pretty horrible on campus, but was suspended for a year
Okay.
and worked his way back into trust and returned. And then the police were waiting. And so
Oh,
he still
wow.
had to do a legal trial here. And he ended up getting a slap on the wrist from his legal case. They charged him like a fine of $100. Like they didn't see it as that serious as
Right.
we did by suspending the student. But then when he went to see his probation officer one week, the probation officer heard that ICE might be there waiting. And they took him to one of the ICE detention centers.
Oh, wow.
And this student was not a strong-willed, like, I don't know how to describe him, but when he finally got out, and then he went home, as soon as he could, his family got him back to his home country. And I Zoomed with him, and he just was changed.
Oh.
And he described it. He's like, my dad told me that this would make me a man.
Oh,
And
I hate that.
he was trying to make the best of it, but it was, yeah, it made me cry. Anyway, I'm not much of a crier from work things, but
That's heartbreaking.
oh my God, I can't even imagine now what those detention experiences are like.
So that makes me wonder, like, having experienced that, I think I would feel trepidation about, I would have a lot of anxiety about hearing another case like that, knowing what that did to a student. Because I think you and I are both of the mindset that we're not trying to break anybody in a conduct meeting. The outcome is always supposed to be that they learn something and they have an opportunity to grow from it. And it sounds like outside of what happened with the ICE people, in this case, the student was on that trajectory already. They did what they were supposed to. They made their way back to campus just like we want them to every time. And then you throw this into the mix and it pulls the whole thing apart.
Yeah. Knowing what I know now, would I have told that student, just don't come back from the suspension? Like, what message does that send?
Yeah. I think knowing what you know now, though, I think when you meet with students, it's something you have to put on the radar. If you come back, this could happen, and then let them make the choice.
Yeah. And having the resources to talk to their families.
Mm-hmm.
Because his father came when he was in the detention center, and we met and we cried together. I think, if I remember, his dad did not speak English, and we were able to find a translator. But not every school has translations resources, and like, God, how do you just make sure people can make informed decisions?
Yeah. I can't even imagine, like, coming from another country and trying to navigate a system like that, especially when you're trying to help one of your kids. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, makes me nervous talking about this stuff and thinking about publishing it.
Yeah. So, post-edit discretion is yours.
Yeah, we can talk about how brave we're feeling. I'd like to also talk about the students and staff and faculty we have who might feel like some of these moves are important and necessary in our country, who hold principle of law very highly and feel like people who have violated laws and policies don't have a place here. That they are still our community.
Yes. Yep.
And how do we all talk together?
That's where I was going with that too. I think so much of what feels like is missing right now is dialogue and community and being able to have the discussion. Things feel so heated. I don't think people are listening to each other, and it's hard to have empathy when you don't listen to other folks or take a moment to think about how this might feel to somebody that's different from you. I don't know how you get back to that. I think the pandemic is partly to blame. I think it disconnected people in a physical way, and I don't know if we have gotten back to feeling that sense of community on college campuses in the way that we did in a 2018-2019 timeframe. And that could just be something that I'm experiencing in my role. I don't know. Do you feel like does it mean the same thing on your campus that it did 7 years ago?
I see a lot of movement around belonging, banners and stuff like you belong here. Even when I was in New Zealand, they had a lot of that stuff like everyone belongs here. That's not enough.
Yeah. It's the
And
branding, but what's the actual work?
it almost sends a message like we don't have any conflict here, as opposed to we work through hard things together.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you will. I almost want to say, I don't know. You're welcomed here. You're valued here. You have a voice here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's getting closer to what I feel like is missing.
Yeah. Value is so hard for me because I think back to some of the advertising pieces we used to do at one of the schools I was at. They were very aspirational from a multicultural standpoint, and I always worried that when students got there and they looked around, they were like, wait a minute, this isn't what was on the brochures. It's nice to be aspirational. It's nice to tell people that they will be valued, but the real work is how do you ensure that happens on a day-to-day basis, and how do you address situations where it's not happening?
Yeah.
It's tough stuff.
I don't see many systems that are truly inclusive of the diversity of student viewpoints that are needed
Yes.
to make good decisions. Feeling a sense of belonging isn't just having people to eat lunch with at the dining hall and hanging out with in the residence hall. It's actually mattering.
Mm-hmm. And not being afraid that if you say something the wrong way or you bring a topic up that you're going to be canceled in some way. I work at a public community college, and we serve a very diverse area that is conservative in the northern part of the county and maybe a little more liberal in the southern part. And sometimes when students come to our campus, it might be one of the first times they're interacting with people that have different viewpoints than them. And it puts, I think, an extra weight on our faculty and our staff and our administrators to really think about how do we get these students to learn from each other and uplift all of their voices and have them in dialogue versus being in echo chambers or making somebody feel bad about a viewpoint that they might have that they've maybe not even thought fully through, or that might not even be their own. It's just something that they heard from a family member. Our campus is supposed to be where people figure themselves out and start to explore whether or not the values that they came to campus with are really their own or just what they've adopted. And hopefully they leave with a sense of self and purpose and an understanding of what they personally believe.
I would love to know, for folks who might be at the conference next month, if you're doing sessions on any of this stuff, because I know I would like to attend.
Yeah.
Moving from belonging to purpose or influence. I don't think we're alone, Kurt, in
I hope not.
wanting more imagination around this.
Yeah. I think they're important discussions right now, and hopefully that's what's happening at a conference, or if not at a conference, at the bar after the session, or at a coffee shop in between.
Yeah. Well, I think I might make a call to my local legislator and see if they're in DC at that time and if they want to have coffee with us.
Oh, that would be phenomenal.
Like, bring them to us instead of us having to go to them. This is so, it feels so superficial based on what we were just talking about, but I remember going to national conferences and seeing politicians as our keynotes. I don't know if you were there when Cory Booker spoke.
We were there
George
together for that.
Stephanopoulos. And I remember always watching them like, do they know what we do? Or do they have a standard keynote that they give, whether they're at the, National Hardware Store Owners Conference or the National Student Conduct Conference? And I believe I remember those two because George Stephanopoulos talked about his roots in college radio and being part of the student activities crew, and I can't remember what Cory Booker talked about.
I don't either, but I remember feeling inspired after he spoke. And I think that was in Baltimore when we were there together. And I want to say it was 2011. How deep is their understanding of the work of a college student personnel professional? Yeah.
We need them and they need us to carry out what they're doing. Woo! Maybe we should lighten things up next time.
Yeah.
I think it was important for us to talk about this.
No,
right
I agree. And I am legitimately excited about the conference. So
me too.
There's that.
Clock is ticking. All right, we'll see you all next time. Please do weigh in. We'd love to hear and talk about your ideas if you're listening. And we'll see you next time on Misbehavior.
Bye, folks.
Misbehavior is written and produced by Colette Shaw and Kurt Doan. Theme music was written and performed by Kevin MacLeod from incompetech.com. You can contact Misbehavior at misbehaviorcollege@gmail.com. That's msbehaviorcollege@gmail.com.